Hi, I'm Francina,
I'm Jackie.
and welcome to the Rest, Love, and Justice podcast.
This podcast is an inquiry into whether rest and love and justice can produce transformative social change. The dominant narrative is this overwork and this glorification of it, especially in the justice space. And here, we're going to question that notion.
Come sit with us as we meet our collective humanity and share stories around rest, love, and justice. It is our hope to create a shift that enables us to recognize that racial justice work is a human issue. It affects us all. Hi, I am Francina from the Rest, Love, and Justice podcast, and welcome to another episode where this week we are discussing Black History Month. Who is it for? I'd like to introduce my co-host,
Jackie Gal. Hey, Francina.
Hi. Thanks for joining us, guys. So, I have my thoughts, perspectives, and issues on the hype around Black History Month and who it actually was created for. And I think that there's definitely a misconception in the world where they think Black History Month is for us. And what would I say to that, Jackie?
You would say, no, it ain't.
No, it's an HE double hockey sticks. No. Yeah. What's your perspective and thought on Black History Month?
Yeah. I kind of just go back and reference back to how it was dealt with in just kind of handled or looked at in my high school, which has been a while. My 20-year high school reunion is coming up. So it's been a little bit, but absolutely. The messaging was, this is to celebrate Black people.
Yeah. Never mind the fact that Black History Month is in the shortest month of the year. I started doing some research and trying to figure out where did this all begin. And a guy in 1926 named Carter G. Woodman started out by advocating, and I think back in the day, it was Black History Week. So it started as a week. And then in the 1970s, it morphed into a month where they were trying to slow down the repression of, Black history in the curriculum, which, as we know today, there's still a lot of repression. But it's got me thinking, why have we adopted this narrative that Black History Month was for us, right? Because it was kind of sold to us like, here, we're throwing you a bone. We'll celebrate you for this month and we'll talk about you for a month, but that's all you guys get. And first of all, Black people cannot be celebrated and encompassed in a month, let alone 28 days that this month usually is, right? There's so much more. And I think that needs to be explored. And the other part of it is that Black History Month isn't for us because we already know that we're cool. We are already talking about our history. We've been talking about our history. And, the important piece for me about Black History Month is for other people to learn about how amazing Black people are and the history of Black people and all the things that they brought forward with that.
Yeah. And I think we talked a little bit about this over the course of February. But I remember in my high school too, that one of my really good friends asked to have one of the co-founders of the Black Panther Party come to speak. And he was denied by the administration because of there was, I don't remember the details, but it was something around a promotion of violence. And so it was like the stereotypes of a Black Power movement and how it was just all messed up. So even if it was for Black people, there was still limitations to what messaging can be shared, which history can be shared.
Yeah.
And really, I haven't worked for any companies that have ever celebrated it and I've been, self-employed for a long time, but it was just thinking about education systems, even within the narrative that it's for Black people, it still isn't because it's going to be restricted.
So I have a real life experience happening right now in my life. My daughter goes to a local high school and she's part of the Black Student Union, and they planned this whole thing. She was so excited about it. They worked on presentations for the history teachers to actually be able to play those presentations in their history classes during Black History Month. And these Black students worked to make it easy for them. Those videos weren't playing in the classes. And she went to the principal and was like, what's the deal? Like, we created this. It's supposed to be easy. And he was like, oh, they're not playing it? Oh, okay, I'll send another email. And it wasn't even a priority. And then to add insult to injury, they planned a whole like spirit week at the school. And it was really about celebrating Black fashion, Black music, all these different components that we are proud of as Black people. And there was this surge of people complaining that, this was offensive and it could be offensive, and the whole thing was killed. And I think about how many hours they spent, these kids so excited to share about what being Black in America is for them. And it was just all cut off. And she made an important point to me. She said, no one batted an eyelid about learning how to say Happy New Year in Chinese. But for Black History Month, everything that they've worked on isn't even being advertised or spoken about in the same magnitude as other months. And so it just kind of left me as a mother feeling just so sad for her, because, these kids are working hard to share about their culture and no one is even listening. And I think that if the culture is set up for them to think that Black History Month is for us, then people can be given the out to not pay attention, right? And I think that this conversation is important to remind people Black History Month is for y'all. Black History Month is for everybody else who is not Black to pay attention, to listen, to learn, so that when Black kids come up and say they want to express themselves and share about their joy and what excites them, they have ears that listen.
Yeah. And so it sounds like more proactivity, like more support, more listening,
right?
For sure. And then more accountability that this is on other people besides Black people to be celebrated in the way that Black people want to be celebrated.
Right.
Yeah.
If people are looking at Black History Month as something that we need to just get through for the Black people, then it passes without attention. It passes without acknowledgement of how important the history of Black people is. And I think even to the point that you made about your friend who was advocating for a Black Panther person to come and speak at the school, the Black Panther movement was a part of history. And they may have been components that were looked at as violent in that part of that arc of that history, but it does not disqualify it from being learned as part of history. I mean, we learned about, the French Revolution. What happened? Was there violence in that? Yeah. And yes, we know about Marie Antoinette, and we know about what happened in the French Revolution. Why? Because that history is spoken of, right?
Absolutely.
So why does this history need to not even be spoken about because there was violence associated?
Yes, it is such a double standard. I mean, we had so many speakers. We had people that were anti-drug, and people that were convicted felons could speak.
Yeah.
Violent criminals. And again, I'm a prison abolitionist, so I don't think anyone should be behind bars.
Right.
But I just think there was selected propaganda that was okay. So yes, even if there's violent movements to the history of this, the foundation of this country is pure violence and destruction, and we learn about it. That's a really good point.
Yeah. So I don't know. I feel like, if you're listening to this podcast and Black History Month has passed and you learned absolutely nothing, you are who Black History Month is for. Like, this is an opportunity for you to continue to learn. We can't be confined to a month because we are more than a month. And I think the fact that we are being pegged as having to need a month is speaking directly to how this country actually hasn't made as much progress as they think they've made. Because, Black people built this country and were forced to work on this land as slaves. And if they need to be given a month for them to feel like they matter, we're not as far as we think. So, yeah, I say keep engaged, keep learning, keep reading. We already know who we are as Black people. We already know our history. we want you to learn about our history, and we want you to learn about who we are, and not just in that month.
Yeah. Well, and thank you. I want to just say thank you too for the sharing about what was happening for your kids and you in this month. And that takes time and energy to do that. So
Right.
just like a deep appreciation for that. And I guess for other white listeners as well, like just listen
Right.
and be there and support and see how you
Yeah.
can.
And Black History Celebration is not limited to sports athletes and, pop stars. And, it's so much more than that. It's inventors, it's people who were trailblazers, who did things that nobody even knows about or sees, Yeah, I'm feeling complete.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's our vibe out for this week. Thank you for joining us. As always, you can find us on Instagram and YouTube. Yeah, that's it for today. Peace and love.
Peace and love. And that is our show for this week. This episode was produced by The City Music. As for me, I'm Jackie Gao, and thanks to my co-host, Francina Call.
May you move through this week embodying rest, love, and justice in ways that are meaningful to you and your community. Thanks for joining us today. Peace and love.